Right, paper 2, June 2008. The grade boundaries I'm using for the same as the paper 1, so you're looking for 65 or more to be absolutely sure of a grade C. And pretty much if you can get everything right down to question 13 out of 21, then that means anything you pick up after that is going to guarantee you that C. It's a paper 2, so you're allowed to use a calculator. So let's see how this pans out. Okay, so let me zoom in. Pretty much standard first question on a calculator paper where you've got a sort of costing bill to work out. So Arthur buys the following items for his car from a garage. Complete the list of the bill for the items he buys. So 4 new tyres at £45.53. So 4 times £45.53. SD turns it into a decimal, so that's going to be £182.12. 2 new wipers at £11.48 each. 2 lots of £11.48. £22.96. 26 litres of petrol at 102 per litre. £26.52. And 2 litres of engine oil, which is worked out for you. So what's important is when you add up this bill now, you remember to include the one that's already been done for you. So £182.12 plus £22.96 plus £26.52 plus £14.70, and that's 246.3, but remember we're talking about money here, so 0.3 of a pound we wouldn't write, we'd write 30 pence, and that's important. If you left that as 0.3 then you lose a mark. The Garage Guild gives Arthur a 10% discount on all the above items. Calculate the discount. Well, 10%, you would write 10% as a decimal, which would be like writing 10 pence written in pounds, so 0.10, times £246.30. So times what was already there, 0.1. So £24.63. Now you need to read this question carefully, because sometimes it will ask you how much money Arthur gets off, which is what this one does, but sometimes it'll ask you how much Arthur then has to pay, in which case you have to take these away from each other to work out what the total cost is before the discount. But in this case that's not a problem, that's the answer. So there's 4 marks for the first part, which is 1 mark for each correct answer, and you wouldn't get that last mark if you had left that as 0.3. And for this, there's 1 mark for the method, which is writing down what sum you've done, and then 1 mark for the answer. So 6 marks there. Okay, so by counting squares, calculate the area of the above figure, which is drawn on a centimetre square grid. So it's a straightforward one. We haven't got to worry about multiplying it by anything afterwards. It's just counting the squares that have got more than half covered by the shape, and making sure that the examiner can see how you're doing that. So I do that by dots and counting in my head. I know some of you write the numbers in the squares, that's fine. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, 67, 68, 69, 70, 71, 72, 73, 74, 75, 76, 77, 78, 79, 80. 81, 82, 83, 84, 85, 86, 87, 88, 89, 90, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, 96, 97, 98, 99, 100, 101, 102, 103, 104, 105, 106, 107, 108, 109, 110, and you may or may not want to count that one there, but I'm not, so I'm going for 110 square centimeters, and there would be a range of answers that would be acceptable, probably anything between 108 and 112 for that. So 1 mark for that would be for the method that I've shown by putting dots, and 1 mark for an answer which is within that correct range. Find the perimeter of the above figure which is drawn on a centimeter square grid. So perimeter is the total distance all the way around. So choose yourself a starting point. I'll start there, and then I need to count each side until I get back there. To make sure that I don't miss any out, I'll put a little mark on as I'm going. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, and I'm back to the start. So the perimeter is 32. 1 mark for that. Total for the page, 6, 9. Okay, pictogram question. The following pictogram shows the number of television sets sold by the discount electrical store each day for 1 week, and 1 rectangle represents 4 television sets. So on Monday that means that you've got 4, 8, 12, 16 TV sets sold. Now that's going to be half of a TV, so that's going to represent 2. So we got 4, 8, 10, 4, 8. Oh, hang on, I'm not doing every day, sorry. Monday, Tuesday, Thursday. So this is Thursday. That's got a quarter of a TV, so that's going to be 1 TV set. So 4, 8, 12, 13. And Saturday, that's going to be 3, because it's 3 quarters of 4. So we've got 4, 8, 12, and 3, 15. And you're going to get 1 mark for each of those. Question 4. Diagram shows a car's speedometer. What speed is shown on the following diagram? So what you've got to do is you've got to work out what each little grade on the speedo represents. So start at 0 and work from there. So if that is 0 to 20, that long mark is halfway, so that's going to be 10. So to go from 0 to 10, the next darkest mark is going up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you've got to go from 0 to 10 in 5 jumps, which means each each dark one represents 2, and there's a lighter one between that and that, which means each lighter one must represent 1. So going around 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, so that would be 70. It's between 60 and 70, and it's on one of the darker lines, so it's going up in 2s, so it's going to be 60, 62, 64, 66, 68 miles an hour. Draw a pointer on the following diagram showing the speed of 56. So it's the same scale marks that are being used. So that's going to be 50. And then 6 is going up in 2s. So it's going to be 52, 54, 56. So we're looking for that one there. So 52, 54, 56. So you get 1 mark for each of those. Total for the page 6. Another scales question. A kitchen scales is used to weigh one of the ingredients for a cake. What is the weight shown on the scale? So again, we need to work out how this scale is working. So each long line is 100. So halfway between would be 50. So this dark line is going to be 50. And then we're going from 0 to 50 in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So each one must be 10. So each of those little tick marks is 10 grams. So that's going to be 500, 550, 560, 570. So 570 grams. 1 mark for that. Question 5. 4 numbers are printed on discs as shown below. Rearrange the discs so that they show the smallest 4-digit number. So if those are in order, what we're talking about there for a number is that that's going to be a unit, that would be a 10, that would be 100, that would be 1,000. So to make it as small as possible, you want the smallest value in the thousands. If you put the 7 in there, whatever comes after it is going to be 7,000 and something. If you put the 4 in there, whatever comes after it is only going to be 4,000 and something. So what you need to make the smallest number is to have that being the smallest number, then the hundreds being the next smallest number, then the tens being the next smallest number, and the units being the largest number. And then the largest 4-digit odd number. So to make the number as large as possible, you want the biggest digit to be in there. But the biggest digit is 7, which means then in order for the number to be odd, that one would have to be a 5, because the 2 other digits left are evens. So to make the number as large as possible, we put the 7 in there, which then means the 5 will have to go there to force the number to be odd. So then that leaves us out 2 even digits, and to make the number as big as possible, we want the biggest one of those in the hundreds column. So we're going to have a 6 and then a 4. 1 mark for each of those. Shade 25% of the following figure. So you need to know equivalences for a quarter, 3/4, a half, tenths and fifths as well really, but 25% you should know is the same as a quarter, and hopefully you can see there's a quarter in each of these. So 2 of those triangles is going to be a quarter. So long as you do shade in any 2 triangles, it doesn't have to be 2 joining each other, then that is 25%. All the factors of 22, so factors are numbers that divide exactly into that number. And 22, the only numbers that divide into 22 are 1, 2, 11 and 22. 1 times 22 is 22, 2 times 11 is 22. Nothing else divides in exactly. So you get 1 mark for each pair. So 1 and 22 will get you a mark, 2 and 11 will get you a mark. Right, 7,458 correct to the nearest 10. So 7,458, the tens column is the 5, which means you're either going to be saying it's 7,450 or 7,460. 58, the next number along, is closer to the 60 than it is to the 50. So it would be 7,460. Rightly correct to the nearest thousand. So the thousands column is the 4. So when you round into the nearest thousand, you're either going to be saying, sorry, thousand column is the 7. So you're either going to be saying 7,000 or 8,000. Because it's less than 500, it's closer to 7,000. So 7,000 is the correct rounding. Total for the page, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so if we've got all those right, then we're now into the grade zone. So everything from here now, and we're guaranteed at least a G. Okay, coordinates. When you're writing coordinates, you always write the x coordinate followed by the y coordinate. So it's always a cross before it's up. So the coordinates of point P, to go from 0 to P, you've got to go across 5 in the negative direction. So it's -5. And then you have to go down again in the negative direction 2. So it's -5, -2. And the midpoint of the line AB, if you look at that line, you should be able to see that the halfway point is going to be there. So the coordinates of that midpoint, and you know that's just by eye, looking at that distance then is the same as that distance. So its coordinate is going to be across 1 and up 4. 1, 4. So the fact you need to learn there is that you always put across, then up. X, then Y. Okay, question 7. The key word here is congruent. It's one of the mathematical words that they expect you to know what it means. And all it means is identical. Exactly the same. So it has to be the same shape, it has to be the same size. It doesn't have to be the same way around. So two shapes can be congruent if one is the same as the other but it's been turned around. So we're looking at these shapes and we're looking for two identical pairs. Now in an exam, if you find this difficult, you can ask for tracing paper and trace each shape and move it around. But I think with this one you can see fairly easily that A and D are identical. And then looking around again, E and F are the same shape but they're not the same size. One is an enlargement of the other. So E and F aren't congruent, but B and G are. They're the same size, same shape. So the other pair are B and G. So congruent, you need to know, is identical. 4th of the page. Which of the following nets are nets of a cuboid? Now a net is the shape that you get if you imagine that you've got a box like I don't know, a box of Jaffa cakes or something, which if you were to cut it and fold it out flat so that all the sides laid out would look something like that. Okay, so what a net is you take a three-dimensional shape and you cut the sides so that you can lay it out flat. So a cuboid is just what I've described, which is a sort of Jaffa cake box. Okay, so we're looking for a shape, or the shapes, that when you fold them up will look like that. So that first one there is a cuboid. Now it's likely that this is a 2-mark question. It's likely there are going to be 2 of those that are cuboids. So I'm happy that that's one. That one's got all rectangular sides, but because that one is so much bigger than the others, they're not going to fold up together. So that's definitely not. That could be a cuboid, sorry, a net of a 3-dimensional shape, but because it's got triangular ends, it's going to look like a Toblerone, a triangular prism, and not a cuboid. That one hasn't got 6 faces, so that won't fold up. That one, what's wrong with that one? That one will fold up. Right, the problem with this one, although it's got all rectangular faces, that one when it folds up to stand upwards is going to have that length and that length up against each other, and they're different lengths, so it won't join together. So that one won't work, but this one will. That one won't. That's going to be a square-based pyramid. This one, although it looks as if it won't fold up, actually will. If that was the base, for example, then that would be the back side, and that would be one end. That would be the front side, and then this would fold over the top to be the top of it, and then that would drop down. So V is the other net. Okay, question 8, so we're into the F's now. This one, unfortunately, because I've reduced the size of the paper, isn't going to be 10 centimeters, but that won't matter because it would be right in the exam, and you can still draw this shape because they're giving you the angles. So you need to know how to use your protractor, your angle measurer, and let's start with the 98 degrees there. You need to put the center of the protractor at the end where you're drawing that angle from. So the center of the protractor is going to go at A, and then the 0 needs to line up along the rest of the line. So this is going to go like that. So there's your starting point. Now 98 degrees, although that hasn't been drawn to scale, that looks about sensible because 98 would be straight up. So on your protractor, 90 degrees is on the blue part of the protractor. So you're going to go up on the inside scale to 90, and then each of these little marks is another degree. So 90, 95, 98 is about there. You're going to use a pencil to do this. Okay, so I don't know where they're going to meet, so I'm just going to draw that up like that. And that's exactly what I'd expect you to do in the exam. Don't worry about the fact those lines are going to go too far. Then we're going to draw the second one. So now the center of the protractor is going to go at B, but the 0, if I don't turn my protractor around, isn't going along the line. So I need to turn my protractor around so that the 0 is on the line. So there's my starting point. Now this time 28, I'm going from 0, I'm using the outside scale, so it's not the blue numbers now, it's the clear numbers. 20 is there, 25, what have I got to do, 26. So 26 is there. Join those up, and again take your line to cross the other one that's there, and then just make sure that that's clearly marked as C. Okay, so the triangle looks exactly the same. The only thing is, because I reduced the paper, the size, AB isn't 10, but that's, you know, like I said, in the exam that will be right. So you're going to get 1 mark for each of those lines that you've drawn. So total for the page, 4. And similarly, this is also going to be a problem because of the size of the page. It's going to fit in, but it's going to be a squeeze. So 130 meters, so we've got to make this fit on using a scale of 1 centimeter to 10 meters. So that means that 130 meters in real life is going to be 10 times smaller on the page. So we're going to do 130, so we're going to draw that one as 13 centimeters, this one as 12 centimeters, and this one as 9 centimeters. So you're going to get 1 mark for reducing the scale. Okay, so I'm going to try and make this fit on, but you'll see, and I don't know how you get on when I look at yours, but 13 centimeters is going to be like that. So BC is there. Now, in order to draw the other 2 sides, you're not given any angles, so you can't use your angle measurer. You have to use a compass. So the first side that we need to draw is AB, which is 9 centimeters. You get your compass, you put the compass point on 0, and you open, sliding, your compass 9 centimeters. Okay, so I'm over to 9 there. Then you put your compass point on B and you draw an arc. Now anywhere on that pencil line is 9 centimeters away from B. So what I want to know is what point on that curve is not only 9 centimeters from B, but also 12 centimeters from C. So now I've got to open this 12 centimeters, which is there. Put my compass point on C and draw another arc. Okay, do that again because my hand was in the way. So I'll draw another arc there, and I know that everything on this bit of pencil is 12 centimeters away from C. So where the two cross is going to be 12 centimeters away from C and 9 centimeters away from B. So that's where A is. So that's there. And that's there. So that's what it would look like. Again, on the real paper you'd have space to do it, but you see it still just about fits in. So if you aren't given any angles, you need to use a compass to find out where that third point is. So there's one mark there for the correct reductions, and then one mark for each of the two sides, AB and AC. Okay, question 9. In the following diagram, AB is a straight line. Okay, so in your brain, AB is a straight line, all those angles must add up to 180. Find the size of the angle marked X. So you know what those two are, so you would take those away from 180 and it gives you that. So X is going to be 180, take away 78, take away 27. So calculator allowed paper, but you're going to have the time, write down the sum that you're going to do. So 180, take away 78, take away 27 is 75 degrees. 1 mark. Mark all the lines of symmetry on the following figure. So symmetry is, if you were to fold it, that would create a line which one side would be identical to the other. Or if you think about it, you could put a mirror on it and it would reflect the other half of the page. And usually there's a clue again in the number of marks. There are 2 marks, so there are probably, not always, but probably 2 lines of symmetry. And they are horizontally and vertically around the midpoint. So it doesn't have to be exact, but make sure that it's quite obvious that you're trying to make that the midpoint. So it's going to be there and there. If that was a square, then it would also be symmetry along the diagonals. But with a rectangle, it's not symmetrical about the diagonals. So those are the 2 that you're looking for. So total for that page, 6. Question 10. Mary went to the supermarket to buy items for a barbecue. She bought 6 packs of sausages, £2.36 a pack, 4 packs of steak at £3.44 a pack, and 8 packs of bread rolls. Total cost of these items was £34.80. Calculate the cost of 1 pack of bread rolls. Okay. So what we need to do here is first of all work out how much she actually spent on bread. And in order to do that, we want to work out the total cost of what we know, the sausages and the steak, and take that away from her total bill. So cost of steak will be 4 times 344. £13.76. Cost of sausages will be 6 lots of 236. £14.16. So add those together. So she spent £27.92 on the sausages and the steak. So the cost of the bread will be £34.80 less what you spent on the meat. So £34.80 minus £27.92, £6.88. So 8 packs cost £6.88. So 1 pack will be £6.88 divided by 8. So divide that by 8 and you get 0.86. So we're working in pounds, so it's 86 pence. Okay, so 5 marks for that. So you get 1 mark for the method of working out the total cost of the meat and getting the answer right. Then you get 1 mark for working out the cost of the bread, and then 1 mark for dividing that by 8 and getting your final answer. So 5 marks for that. And with that question, it's important that you break down your steps in your answers. Don't just do it all on your calculator and write down an answer, because if you've made a mistake, you're going to end up with nothing. And as I keep saying, on a foundation tier paper, you will have plenty of time. Tom has £20. He buys cakes for the barbecue. Each cake costs 89 pence. Find the greatest number of cakes that Tom can buy and work out how much money Tom will have left over. Okay, so you want to see how many times 89 pence goes into £20. So you either got to turn £20 into pence or 89 pence into pounds, which is what I would prefer to do. So I'm going to do 20 divided by 89 pence. 20 divided by 0.89 equals 22.47, yada 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 yada. Okay, so we can't buy 23 cakes, so we can only buy 22 cakes. So 22 cakes will cost him 22 lots of 89. Which is £19.58. So the money he has left over will be £20 less than £19.58. £42p. So Tom buys 22 cakes with 42p left over. So 3 marks for that. There'd be 1 mark for your method, 1 mark for the 22 cakes, 1 mark for the change. Okay, 62% on a calculator. Write 62% as if it was a decimal, which would be as if you were writing 62 pence, but you had to write it in pounds, which would be 0.62, and then you multiply that by 12.5. 0.62 times 12.5 equals 7.75. And again, calculate the paper, but write down what you're doing, because there's a method mark. Okay, question 11. So we're into the E's now. Find the mean of this list of numbers. Mean, you need to know the 3 averages: mean, mode and median. Mean is the one that's the most work, because you've got to add them all up and then divide by however many there are. So let's do that now. So I'm showing the examiner what I'm going to do by lazily just putting the pluses in between. So 45 plus 57 plus 46 plus 38 plus 76 plus 63 plus 48 plus 86 plus 72, 531. So the mean is going to be, add them all up, divided by however many there are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 59. And in order to check the sensibleness of that, you're looking for a number which is kind of in the middle of the numbers that are there. And the numbers that are there are going from high 30s to the 80s, so 59 seems sensible. If you got an answer there of 12 or 132, you should be thinking, hang on a minute, something's gone wrong. So 1 mark for the method, 1 mark for the fact you're dividing by 9, and 1 mark for your answer. There are 4 balls numbered 3, 5, 7 and 9 respectively in machine A, and 5 balls numbered 2, 4, 6, 8 and 10 in B. In a game, machines A and B each select 1 ball at random. The score for the game is the sum of the 2 numbers. So you need to know what that word means, sum. And if you're not sure, hopefully you'll be able to take a guess that it means add, but you may think, oh, does it mean times or subtract? They always give you a partly filled table, so if you don't know what the word sum means, you should be able to work it out. I think it's add. Oh yes, 2 add 3 is 5, 5 add 4 is 9, and so on. So the first thing you have to do is complete the table. So here is going to go 5 add 6 is 11, 5 add 8 is 13, 5 add 10 is 15, 7 add 6 is 13, 7 add 8 is 15, 7 add 10 is 17, 9 add 6 is 15, 9 add 8 is 17, 9 add 10 is 19. So you'd have 1 mark for correctly filling in the table. To win a game, a player must get a score which is less than 11. If a player plays the game once, what is the probability that he or she will win? So the first thing you have to do is work out how many chances there are of getting a score less than 11. So inside here, these are all the possible scores you can get by playing the game. So the number of them that are smaller than 11, and it's worth doing this on the exam paper, is putting a circle around the ones that you're including. So that one, that one, that one, that one, that one, that one. You need also to be clear, does 11 count? So if 11 was to count, that would say a player must get a score which is 11 or less, or 11 or fewer. Less than 11 doesn't include 11. So the number of chances of him winning are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And a probability is always written as a fraction. The number of chances of whatever you're trying to do will be the number on top. And the number on the bottom is the total number of chances in the game. So the total number of chances in the game are the numbers that are inside that grid. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 20. There's 20 chances there. Okay, and leave it as 6 out of 20. There's no need to cancel that down. It's not a fractions question where they're asking, if it said give your answer in its lowest form, but quite often this question carries on and it's easier to do the maths if you keep that in its original form. So there's 1 mark for completing the table, there's 1 mark for correctly using probability, and then there'll be a mark for the number on top and a mark for the number on the bottom. So total marks on that page, a lot of marks on that page, 4, 7, 10, 12, 17 marks. If you have a good page there, then you're well on your way. We're into the D's. Each side of the above rectangle is enlarged by a scale factor of 4. Write down the dimensions of the enlarged rectangle. So if it's enlarged by a scale factor of 4, that means everything is going to be 4 times bigger. So that is going to be 28. 7 times 4. That's going to be 20. Okay, it isn't add 4. Okay, that's a common mistake. A scale factor of 4 would be, well, I'll add 4 to every side. No, 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 no. It's 4 times as big. So it's going to be 28 centimeters by 20 centimeters. How many times bigger is the perimeter of the enlarged rectangle than the perimeter of the small rectangle? Okay, so let's do this the long way, because you're going to have time. Perimeter of the small rectangle excuse me, will be the distance all the way around the outside, 7 plus 5 plus 7 plus 5. So if we start in there, we're going 7, 5, 7, 5. So that comes to 24 centimeters. Large would be 28, 20, 28, 20. So we've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 96. That comes to. So how many times bigger? If you do 96 divided by 24, I reckon you're going to get 4. 96 divided by 24 is 4. So if you enlarge the length of the sides by 4, you're going to have to travel 4 times further. That makes sense. Okay, so you don't have to do the maths. If you think, well, that's logical, it's 4 times bigger, that's fine. But you've got the time to make sure you've got it right. How many times bigger is the area? So let's do it the long way again. Area of small would be 7 times 5, which is 35 units centimeters squared. Large would be 28 times 20, which is going to be 560 centimeters squared. 28 times 2 is 56. Add a 0 because there's a 0 there. So this time it's 560 divided by 30. Oops, 35. 16 times bigger. So 16 times bigger with the area. So marks for that. 1 mark for each of the correct dimensions. 1 mark for 4 times bigger. Here, 1 mark for the maths that you're doing to work out that it's 16 times bigger. But if you just write the 16, you'll get the marks. Question 13, which is the last of the non-C graders. 4x equals 12. You want to get the x on its own, so you have to deal with the 4. The 4 and the x are joined by a times, so in order to get rid of a times 4, you have to do the opposite of timesing by 4, which is divide by 4. If you divide that by 4 to get the x on its own, you have to divide the other side by 4 as well. In algebra, we write divide like that. 12 divided by 4 is 3. For part 2, to get the x on its own, I have to get rid of an add 7. You get rid of an add 7 by doing the opposite of adding 7, which is subtract 7. If you subtract 7 from that side, you've got to subtract 7 from the other side as well. So it's 15 take away 7, which is 8. So 1 mark for each of those. Expand 7 bracket x take 3. So here, it's not an equation, you're not going to get an answer, you're just going to get another algebra line of algebra. So when you're multiplying out a bracket, or expanding a bracket, first of all it's a multiplication, and you have to multiply whatever's outside by everything that's inside. So you have to do 7 times x, which is 7x, 7 times 3 is 21, and the number outside is a plus, because there's no sign there, the number inside is a minus, So plus times a minus, if those signs are different, the answer is negative. Find the value of 6x plus 3y when x equals 5 and y equals negative 4. Okay, so the most common mistake people make is they forget there's a times there, and they would just write that then as 65. It's not 65, it's 6 times 5 plus 3 times negative 4. 6 times 5 is 30. 3 4s are 12. But then, just like with that bracket, I've got a plus times a negative. Signs are different. The answer is negative. 30 take away 12 is 18. So there'll be 1 mark there for substituting in, and 1 mark for going the whole hog and getting 18. Simplify. Now, what I always recommend you do with these is you group together the parts that are the same, the terms that are the same letters. So I got a 7p there, and I got p there as well, and the signs that are in front are attached to those terms. There's no sign in front of the first one, that means it's positive. If it was a minus, we'd write the minus in. So you've got a 7p, take away a 3p, which is 4p. And then we've got here negative 3 and another negative 5. Now we're not multiplying here, okay, and they're not in brackets, and they're not written like that. So we don't, it's not two sides the same, so it becomes positive. We're at minus 3, negative 3q on the number line, and we're going to take off another 5. So we're going from negative 3, we're going more negative another 5, we end up at negative 8q. So you'd have 1 mark for the p, 1 mark for the q. The length of a piece of wood is 2x plus 1 centimeters. A second piece of wood is 3x centimeters longer than the first. So if it's longer, it's going to be more. So we're going to be adding that on. So what we're going to have is that's what the first piece was. This one is going to be that much plus another 3x. 2x and 3x is 5x. So what they're looking for there is 5x plus 1. Total for the page, 2, 5, 10, 13. Okay, so that, if you get everything right there, you're out of the D's, and 1 more mark and you're going to be getting yourself a C.